do you want from me? I'm just blood and flesh and bones. I'm not an answer.
Welcome to Mildly Entertaining at UNCW, the show where the Office of Military Affairs keeps you mildly entertained and more or less up to date on what's going on at UNCW. Your hosts are Joanna DeMott, the Military Liaison and Program Coordinator, and Melanie Nelson, the Military Student Services Specialist. Hi, Joanna. How are you today?
I'm great. It's a beautiful day. Got a great workout in this morning, and I'm feeling good. How are you, Melanie?
I'm glad to hear you got a great workout in this morning, and we'll reveal the reason for that in just a minute. I'm likewise doing well. It is spitting some rain, so I didn't get my walk in this morning, which is aggravating, but I'll survive. It'll be all right. All right, tell us about our guest, Joanna.
I am super excited to introduce Joe Rouse, the owner and coach of Breakaway Fitness and Performance here in Hampstead, North Carolina. How are you today, Joe?
Oh, I'm doing great because I just got done with that same workout. Very well.
It was a good one. I work out with Joe on Zoom right now, but have been for the past couple years, and it's pretty fantastic. You are also a Seahawk, aren't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
It's fantastic. Your work situation changed a little bit too, didn't it, from the fall? What's been going on at Breakaway since coronavirus hit?
Since coronavirus hit at Breakaway, we essentially had to create a second business. It was like a crash course in all things virtual. Not that, I had been using Zoom for a long time, but I wish I had owned stock in it before COVID took place. But we had to essentially, I remember the date because it was just crazy. It was March 25th specifically was when we completely made the switch to go from 100% in person to 100% virtual. And had to figure out all the technology set up, how to have good sound, all that good stuff, because, for the type of work that we do, the type of training we do, to try to offer the same value over something like this that you get in person is a significant challenge for sure.
Absolutely. And I think that you've done a fantastic job of making that happen. And a lot of us turned our garages into home gyms just so we could continue to follow you guys and continue that group coaching that we like so much.
Yeah, I don't think I could over communicate how appreciative I am of all of y'all. Like just being on board, kind of riding the wave and going with us through this. Like it's been a really, really big deal to see people just support a local business through everything that's gone on, because gyms has not been easy to be a gym during COVID, for sure.
Absolutely. So I am known for my awkward transitions, and I'm going to transition you right on over to Melanie.
Cool.
Excellent. Excellently awkward there. Is that something you can work on in workouts, like helping people be less awkward? I don't think that's maybe the same. We're on a different topic.
I gotta go through transitions all the time, so we could talk about it.
See, Joanna, you
get up to your next virtual workout.
Just need some extra coaching. Okay, so our first very, very serious question is, what are you snacking on these days? So the business has changed, the model has changed, there's been a lot of stress. Has that changed your snacking? What are you eating these days? Does it involve snacking?
If I'm going to be 100% honest, my snacking did change quite a bit during COVID-19, as did my level of activity, because I went from coaching, walking around, to sitting like this. So I packed on some weight during COVID. I would say what I'm snacking on that's probably not the best thing that my wife likes to buy and conveniently keeps in multiple places in our house are almond M&Ms. And they're ridiculous. I don't know if you guys have had the almond version of those, but they're like stupid good. My 2-year-old calls them Amazons. I don't know. He can't say M&Ms yet, so he calls them Amazons. It's actually pretty cute. But the almond M&Ms, like no joke, we were in between homes. And my wife goes out, she goes, well, I got a big family size bag for you and your nightstand. And I got one for me and my nightstand. So there was some serious snacking going on for sure.
That's collusion there when the other person in your house decides to enable all your snacking habits. And almond M&Ms. Oh boy, that's a new one. See, I keep a running list of all the snacks that people are eating. And when I hear one that sounds good, I just add it to my own personal stash. So might have to make sure that I don't put M&Ms on the grocery list this week. Okay, well, thank you for being honest. You could have taken a different route there and said, I'm a
Yeah.
personal trainer. I don't snack. I eat keto or whatever, and been super judgy about it. But I'm glad that you were willing to be, real with us. That's what we're about on Mildly Entertaining.
That's it.
Um,
That's it. I was just saying I agree. I mean, we try to keep it real at Breakaway with food, especially.
It's a big thing. Food, fitness, it's all part and parcel. Alrighty. So we've mentioned that you are a Seahawk. You're part of, what do we call it? Seahawk Nation. You're one of those Seahawks that's out flapping around in the community somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes, he's giving us the strong man, the I got muscles Seahawk image, which is great. Tell me about how you wound up becoming a Seahawk and what your experience was like with UNCW.
Let's see. I became a Seahawk. So I've spent my freshman year at Western Carolina University, and I went there with a whole bunch of friends. Like, didn't do great. I did okay. Everybody else failed out. Like, we just all went crazy. Came back to here, went to Cape Fear for a couple of years to get those basic studies out of the way. And I had a public speaking course, and I didn't do fantastic during this course, but we had this one presentation, and I gave it on essentially it was on knee injuries. And it was the best grade I got for the whole semester. Like, I started with a video of this guy. I don't know if you remember him, but his name was Willis McGahee at Miami, just getting his knee just completely like split in half. And so it drew everybody into my speech. But that made me want to do something in the sports medicine field. So I wanted to go to I wanted to get to a university again. I've always lived here, so I naturally went to UNCW. And meeting with the advisor there got me into athletic training, which quickly turned into exercise science, which is what I do now, because athletic training is like a full-time job when you're in college. I had to work full-time. So, yeah, I knew I was going to go to UNCW as soon as I moved back to Wilmington. And at UNCW, I would say, I don't know if my college experience once I got there was typical of what most people would experience, because when I came back for the summer, I would say Western Carolina probably was, but like when I came back for the summer, I bought a vehicle, which I had to pay for myself. I had to pay rent and all that stuff. So I was working full time, and I was an assistant manager at the place where I was working. So it was basically school and work made it so school really didn't get done all that well until I had this wonderful miracle of who now is 12-year-old son. My wife got pregnant, and I realized I had to pay attention in class. I had to read textbooks. I had to study when I was outside of class and get my grades up so that I could go to graduate school if I wanted to go to graduate school. And I think I'll give a shout out. I think he's still there. Christian Barnes, he was in the exercise science program. And there was other great teachers there. Dr. C, he was awesome too. But Christian Barnes, I guess he's Australian, but I just remember him being extremely motivating when he became my advisor. He was a good guy, and he recognizes, like, man, you're 21 and you have a kid now, like, you got to step it up. And it kind of just lit a fire and got my grades up. So I was thankful for that, and I was able to graduate and get a job.
I'm hearing so many things that I like so far about this story, and we're going to continue the story into how you became the owner and coach at Breakaway Fitness. But I like how you're like, yeah, so I went off to do the typical college thing, and it did the typical college thing, which didn't work out, right? When you go to college with a bunch of friends just to get, it's always, in North Carolina, it's always, do you want the mountains or the beach? You can't have them both in the same day. So do you want the mountains, do you want the beach? You went for the mountains, and it didn't work out. That's okay. And then coming back and using Cape Fear to kind of figure things out, I think that's a really great strategy. And I know that a lot of our students coming out of the military especially are like, well, should I just go directly into a four-year university, or should I go for the community college? And I think it can work out either way, right? So it's so cool that you found this one course. And I like how you even admit that you didn't even do that great in the course. Like, it maybe wasn't as good as it could have been, but you found the one thing that you're like, I really got engaged in this one presentation and I got a great grade for it. Like, this paid off, right? I think that's just a good way to talk about college in general. Like, you're not going to like everything that you do in every class, but there's a purpose to everything you do for every class. It's not all arbitrary. I have to give you a certain amount of activities in order to guarantee you a certain grade or something. So I think that's a really good story. And then coming to UNCW, we hear over and over that people's advisors make the difference for them. And like you said, looking at you and be like, hey buddy, your life just changed and you got to get with the program, and you listening to that. So cool. So how did you go from graduating at UNCW with your degree in exercise science to where you are now?
So as I was finishing up at UNCW, I worked at Lowe's Home Improvement at the time, and then an opportunity came up to work with the hospital, local hospital system, and work in an outpatient rehab facility because I wanted to go to physical therapy school at the time. Um, Basically, it turned out that I waited too long to get my grades up to be able to get into physical therapy school, so I pivoted from there. But I was working alongside physical therapists, doing whatever they needed me to do, and I started teaching water aerobics classes to seniors. Actually, that was really my main start in the industry, um, and I wasn't trained very well to even do that. To be honest with you, it wasn't. But they didn't know any different because they hadn't experienced the higher quality program. But so I worked for the hospital for a few years. I'd go to the inpatient on the weekends, put in time there to just get experience, and then work at the outpatient during the week. And then at a place in Porter's Neck called the Davis Community, a job came open for a wellness coordinator for a facility that was not even open yet. This was going to be a facility for older adults. So at that point, it was right up my alley. And so I went and applied, interviewed, got the job there, helped them open that facility, kept teaching water aerobics, went and got educated on that stuff. And actually we had quite a few interns. So we had a good relationship with UNCW at the time too, because the exercise science program had a good internship program or a good practicum program. And we get a lot of them coming in. We ended up hiring a few of them. A few of them are at my facility at BFP now too. But from there, I went into a master's program online in kinesiology, and I ended up reading more textbooks like cover to cover than I've ever read to have to do online learning. Like I would say I value online learning so much more than I used to, especially for like a working professional or for a parent. It almost makes me wish I would have gone to college a little bit later because I was so much more responsible as I got older and able to just soak up so much more information, even though, my brain's not as young. But I went through that master's program. It was great. Learned a ton. And from there, I almost got into teaching and I decided not to, but I just got a little worn out working with the same population, kind of doing the same things all the time. Cause when you're working with anybody who's like 50 and up, and for us, it was really like 70 and up, there's just not a lot of like variety. Like it's a lot of the same stuff, and it's you're making a difference, but I was just ready to move on. Like I wanted to work with people more my age, in those 30s and 40s. And I had a grandfather, he's passed away since, but he owned a shopping center in Hampstead. And we were randomly sitting in his kitchen one day eating lunch. I'd like helped him mow some grass or something. And I was like, I'd really like to own my own business one day. And he goes, all right, Joe, I'll give you a shot. You get 4 months to do it without rent. He's like, I got a spot up in the shopping center. It's 900 square feet. And I'm like, oh, really? Okay. I didn't call my wife, didn't tell her till I got home, but like it was done, like lights out. I think he gave me like $500 to buy some used equipment to help me get started. So we moved in and I opened it up. We had one session a day at 6:15 in the evening, like 3, 4, it was 5 days a week. And then one session on Saturdays. I kept my full-time job, open Breakaway Fitness. I happened to already have hired this great guy named Silas at my full-time job, and he was willing to come work with me at my new business, and he helped me paint walls and all kinds of stuff. He's still with me today, 7 years later. But that's really how it started. We were able to make just enough money to pay rent after 4 months, and I could pay Silas like $10 a session or something. He's a UNCW grad as well. And from there, it just kind of started to learn the market, learning sales, and grew from there.
I love how your elevator pitch for the rest of your life is going to involve, well, I started out in water aerobics, and then, water aerobics is a lifesaver. And like you said, you're helping people and it's a good thing, but it's just kind of a meet cute to put into your elevator pitch to sort of be like, no, I'm really approachable and I work with all kinds of people. Like, that's so cool.
I mean, I don't know. I probably owe a lot of my career to that just because of the amount of time I spent doing it. I would say I lost quite a bit of weight. I used to be quite a bit heavier than I am now, and running around in like an 89-degree room, like teaching from over here, doing the same exercises they're doing, but they're doing it in water. It was work for sure.
Oh, for sure. And, you've got a lot of emotional labor going on there too, working with senior citizens. Good for you. Good for you. Happy that people like you exist in the world. It's not something I would be able to handle, but I'm glad that people like you are here. So I think we've talked about everything I was interested in learning, which means I'm going to hand you back over to Joanna now.
Cool. Thank you.
I learned something new today. That's pretty amazing. I have to ask you, besides coaching me, what is your favorite part of your job?
My favorite part of my job at Breakaway is developing other people to work at Breakaway. I absolutely love developing the coaches that we bring in. And it's been a really interesting and challenging thing and anxiety inducing thing to trust other people to do what I care about, which is Breakaway, like more than anybody else. Right. And you have to learn to almost be happy with somebody who's 80% as good as I would do it, or 90% as good as I would do it. Like in terms of everything I've read and everything I've learned, right? Like you're never going to get somebody who's going to notice the dust in that corner 15, 20 feet away, like, and go get it with the duster in between sessions, right? Like not everybody's going to care that much. But if I can get them to care 80% that much, I think we're doing pretty good. So I do actually love coaching Joanna, because Joanna's got a good sense of humor and she works really, really hard. Sometimes she comes in early, a little bit half asleep, but she starts to wake up. And once we get through that warm up, she starts laughing. And Joanna's she's a wooer. So like you'll hear her every now and then like, woo, which I like because it helps uplift the energy in the room, especially at 5 a.m. in the morning or 6 a.m. in the morning. But I do love coaching, like, especially like I love the mornings. I love coaching in the evenings. There's just something about finishing my day up with coaching in the evenings when I do it. I don't do it anymore. I do it occasionally. And when I do it, it's almost like a runner's high for me when I coach, and because I love being around the people in our business. And if they're people that I don't love being around or that other people don't like being around, usually they're not going to last long. Like they're not going to fit our culture. And so it's not like you're going to be drained on emotionally when you're in these sessions. But developing my employees to do the things that I would do naturally because I own the business, right? Like Silas, hopefully within the next year, would have been already had COVID not happened, but Silas will take over as the general manager. And so he won't coach quite as much as I have to bring on another coach and develop them. But I've got to teach Silas to develop that coach, right? So that's where I'm at. I'm creating systems and teaching people to develop other people. And I enjoy it because it's a good challenge.
And I can attest you've chosen some really great people who are doing some amazing things and really transforming people in ways that's different than other places. And I enjoy that for sure. Everybody's pretty great.
I appreciate it. It's an interesting dynamic choosing, because not everybody loves everybody. And even though we say that, right, Jackie Moon, we say everybody love everybody. It's been very interesting, right, to have people that have worked with me for like 6 years at night to now they work with Nick, who is fresh out of college and a different guy, even though he coaches very similar to how I do. Just developing it. Yeah, it's been really interesting. And then hiring somebody recently like Stephanie, who is literally an ideal client, right? Like she's the person I market to in terms of what we put in our marketing message. And she's been phenomenal, like game-changing, just phenomenal coach because of the way she communicates and the way she can relate to everybody. Like it's just been, I just learn, just keep learning as I go along.
What do you think are some misconceptions about what you do, about Breakaway, or about what you do in general?
Oh, let me turn that off. I'm sorry. That's our Google Voice number ringing on my computer here. There we go. Misconceptions about what I do, or about what Breakaway does. I would say the one that immediately pops in my head specifically about Breakaway would be that people think what we do is CrossFit, like because CrossFit's in the media, it's big, people see it everywhere. And what we do is not like what you would do at a CrossFit facility. It might be similar in terms of some of the tools we use, some of the movements we do, but generally the way that we do things, we're much more focused on longevity and then support among peers than we are competitiveness and lifting, making exercise a sport. I don't want to make exercise a sport. And I have to make sure that it's very clear, like in our training, it's very clear in our marketing, because people still want to say it's CrossFit. And the problem with that is the people that we market to, some of them are intimidated by that. So then it keeps them from ever coming in the door. That's a big misconception for like Breakaway specifically. In our industry, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, I don't, maybe you can tell me if I'm wrong on this. I feel like at times people view most trainers, unless you really know them, like you know me well because I've worked with you for a while now. But I feel like most people, or at least it seems this way at times, most people view kind of almost trainers like as all the same or almost on the same level. So like it's been much more of a relational job and a psychological type job than it is like an X's and O's job than I ever thought it was going to be. Like people don't really, most people don't care that I have a master's degree. Like they don't come in and say, "Oh, I see that hanging on the wall." Like that's why it's not hanging on the wall anymore. So like you can get somebody who just likes to work out and they're just as likely to go work out with them as they are to come work out with me. What matters more is like how much we connect and that emotional intelligence as we're working with people. Um, I don't know if that's like, so I don't, maybe that's not a misconception. Maybe that's just me talking, but, I feel like I don't know, maybe it seems like, I guess I feel like sometimes people assume that all personal trainers are kind of the same or all coaches are the same. And I think you can see some major differences depending on the amount of time people spend on their craft. And you don't have to have a degree to be an amazing trainer, but um, yeah, I don't know. That's probably about it. There's other like misconceptions you see in the media and stuff. Like we still get some women that come in and they're worried about getting like really bulky from lifting weights. Um, and then, you know, unless they eat a ton of food or they have a certain body type, it's very, very rare that that happens. Um, those are probably some of the bigger ones. Yeah.
I think too, people think it's just an exercise class when it is really group training. I've had injuries, and you guys have helped me work around those injuries to continue on with the class. I can always speak up if I need something different, or you're watching everybody's form and making sure that it's proper so they don't get injured. It's different than just a regular class too, for sure.
Yeah, that can be challenging to market at times. Like I even have to communicate to my employees, like, do not call it a class. You have to call it a session. Like this is something we have to build within our culture and our brand, and we have to communicate it through everything we do to try to fight that. Yeah, we don't want people coming in thinking they're coming to like a body pump class. Not there's anything wrong with that. Like I'm down for movement regardless, but yeah, we got to differentiate. I think that's a really, really good point.
Excellent. There's so much. I know my neighbor's mowing the lawn. I hope that's not coming through, but I know that for me and for many of the clients too, a lot of people have done all the things. They've done different, at home video workouts. They've done a lot of things, and maybe they've stuck to it for, 6 months, maybe a year. But I see a lot more people sticking with Breakaway for, 3 years. We have, you have some people that have been there with you from the beginning, and that's different for me. And I know some of the people I talk to in the class, it's kind of like a family. It really is. We check in on each other and make sure everybody's okay. It's really nice.
Yeah, you guys definitely do that. So much more than I could ever hope anybody would do. Like, and it's such a big deal to see everybody. Some people have made like best friends. I like, that's something I never anticipated, opening a fitness facility, like that people are going to make their best friends. I mean, technically Silas is my best friend and I work with him because we don't really hang out a ton outside of work. We do some, but like we've traveled across the country together and we spend every single day together. He's my only full-time employee. So it's interesting the dynamic that you can develop in a facility like this when you're around these people so much in that family-like atmosphere. And that's really what we decided that we wanted to do. We decided that was what could help get people to engage in exercise for a long period of time. Is not the exercise so much itself as it is the atmosphere and the other people around them. That's
something, when you go into a gym, you think, oh, everybody's watching me, or I can't do that, because somebody's going to think this or think that. And that's not the atmosphere at all. Everybody's very supportive. And you really do encourage that.
We try to. I mean, that's one of our main core values. Like we want people to, we'll challenge you as much as you want to be challenged, but our main focus here is not going to be like, well, I'm competing with you, I'm coming for you, right? It's like, I got your back. Hey, great job. High fives all around, all that good stuff. That's what we want for sure. Hopefully one day we can get back to more of the social aspect of it too.
That would be awesome.
I miss the pool parties.
Yeah, those were awesome. Right now, I'm in the midst of a challenge with you guys. So not only am I working out on Zoom, while some people are in the gym doing workouts that are very socially distanced, 6 feet, everything's well sanitized. But I'm working out with you, but I'm also doing a challenge that has nutrition aspects to it. And you do these quite often. And I know that for an introduction into the gym or into better physical fitness, it's a wonderful way to do that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. That's why we do them. Usually we do them about once a quarter. We look at it as like interval training for your nutrition, because most people cannot be totally on with nutrition all the time. There's just, it just changes. Sorry, I don't know if you guys can hear my 2-year-old. He's like right outside.
We love extra coworkers. Extra coworkers are fine.
Yeah. Oh, he's going to try to come in the door now. But yeah, so a lot of people like ask to do these challenges more often, or they want to like post their meals online all the time. And I'm like, I promise you you're going to burn out. Like, let's do this in chunks. And then our goal is for you to take away 1 or 2 habits from this program that you implement into your daily life. And then it's no longer like a program. It's just some things that you're doing, and you can do those regularly. And it doesn't have to be, well, I got to get back to doing this, man. I was doing this during this 1 month. I was tracking everything I was eating and all this stuff. And really just wanted to be, well, man, I eat vegetables at like every single meal now, because that's fantastic. Like, that's a way to save calories. It's a way to get a ton of nutrients. Everybody should be doing that. Or I get more protein at every single meal now. If we can get people just to do those really simple, super non-sexy things, then we can get the long-term success that we hope for, like with people that we get to work with for a long time. I've had to learn, though, that I've also had to learn to work with people. You know, it's easy to go to that trainer brain and just be like, well, just eat this or just do this. But everybody is at like a different season of life at a different time. And that's what we try I try to make sure everybody in our facility or our coaches understand that when we're reaching out to people over the app, the My Coach app that we use and things. It's like, look, that person you're reaching out to right now, they might not be able to eat 5 meals a day or whatever it might be, right? It might be, if you can just get them to eat a full meal, like, that's a good thing. Like, let's just help them, meet them where they're at and help them do what they can do. Because right now, you know, mom's got cancer. Like, we got to worry about COVID. We've got this going on, like, or I've got some, you know, they've got an in-law moving like to their house. There's just so many things that go on besides fitness and nutrition. We've had to really learn to balance that. So I guess to circle that back around, like, that's why those challenges like you're talking about, we do those just periodically throughout the year. And then I honestly discourage people from doing them all the time.
Yeah, they're really fun. And, you know, I've done a lot of them, and sometimes I'm really successful and I stick to it and I do my thing, and sometimes I don't. And knowing, and you guys recognizing that your fitness can be like a roller coaster, and it normally is, and that's totally normal and it's totally fine. Normalizing that rather than this epitome of like fitness and having to have, you know, really low body fat and do all these things makes it more approachable and easier to continue on with. And I really appreciate all of that, for sure. Is there anything coming up that you want to promote here?
Not. I could technically, it kind of depends on regulations coming up, like, because I don't know how much we can market. So we have an annual fitness competition that we do. Like I said, we focus on support. We're not big on like everybody competing with each other. And this really just becomes a big supportive event. But we do it every year, and it's just the high afterwards, the family feeling afterwards is so immense, like just so intense, that I wanted to find a way to do this event this year. And people are starting to do more like 5Ks and runs and things. So I was like, well, if they can do that, I'm pretty sure I can figure out a way to do this safely. So we're going to have our fitness combine on November 14th. And the county has allowed me, they're going to allow me to rent out the big baseball field next door to Breakaway. So nobody will be inside at all. If we have vendors, they'll be all spread out. If mask restrictions are in place, like when they're not actually competing, like people will wear masks. But that's probably the biggest thing that we'll have coming up. We don't have any big challenges coming up after this one until like in Christmas, you know, close between Thanksgiving and Christmas. That's something I'm really excited about, to hopefully we can work it out logistically the right way.
And those are pretty amazing. I mean, you get these 30, 40 plus year old people out there really competing. I mean, I've done it, you know, the past 2 years, and it's pretty intense, but it's supportive. So it's something I never would have done or even thought about doing. That and the Spartan races, when those are going, and the training that you offer, I never would have done a Spartan race. There's no way you would have got me muddy or done any of that except for this family that we, have at Breakaway. So I like how you just kind of, you push a little bit, and it's always optional, but you push and you have that support. And I really enjoy that at Breakaway for sure.
I appreciate that. That's what we try to do. Hopefully we can get back to doing it.
And we'll put up your social media links.
I appreciate it. Cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on today, Joe. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was fun. I appreciate the questions. It was actually really fun talking about UNCW and how I got to own Breakaway and stuff too. I always forget how I have specific moments that like I'll never forget until I start talking about it, because I always talk about the same moments.
Yeah, those moments that are really definitive, and it's good for college students to hear that, because whether they've had those moments yet or they can recognize them right now or not, it's good to know that everybody has an arc, a story. Everybody has a narrative to tell about how they got to be where they are. And I think this has been a very inspiring discussion, particularly for like business students or for students in other fields who think they might someday want to own their own business. Very cool. It has maybe been inspiring for people to go back into a fitness routine. It's not changing anything for me, but that's not because of you. It's just because Joanna talked about getting muddy, and I'm over it. I'm done. I don't work for the Marines anymore. I'm good. Like we're over it. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And this has been an episode of Mildly Entertaining at UNCW, and we will see you on the internet.
Thank you for listening to Mildly Entertaining. Our intro music comes from the band Blue Turnip and their song, What Do You Want From Me? You can find their EP, Songs from the Root Cellar, on Bandcamp, iTunes, Amazon, and Spotify. For more information, you can go to blueturnipmusic.com.